Pollution Control Authority special meeting Wednesday, November 2nd. It is 7 o'clock. We have Matt, Ron, Joe, myself from the commission. We have one item in front of us tonight, that is to hear, consider, and act upon funding for the East Trunk Wetland Crossing construction. I am going to ask, so that we can formulate a motion, for a kind of a 5-minute overview or so. We're all familiar with the importance of the project. It appears as though some much more finite costing has come in. So I'm going to ask Bill and Mega to walk us through where they are and the total cost of the project that needs to be approved by the commission.
And may I just say, welcome, Nancy. Let's identify.
Oh, right, we have Nancy.
I'm here. I'm at a place I can't really speak very loudly. Sorry, I'm traveling for work. I'm in LA, but I'm here.
You're not allowed to speak in LA?
Here I am right now. It's tough. I'm like,
Okay.
yes, but I'm
Nancy,
here and
we're
listening.
thrilled to have you. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Okay, Bill and Mega, tell us what's up.
Okay, I'll start, but Mega can certainly fill everybody in as well. We received the latest estimate from D&B, our consulting engineers for the East Trunk Metro Wetlands Crossing. This is 331 feet of sanitary sewer that was not completed during the Metro project, probably because it involved wetlands and costs. And so they basically skipped this portion of the project when they did the Metro Center. And it needs replacing. We're going to go from a 33 to a 36 inch, I do believe, for additional capacity, and also try to reduce some I&I that is occurring. We really don't know, in truth, whether this line is bowed a little bit or if it's straight. It's on an extremely flat slope. And so it was recommended by Director of Public Works and probably the WPCA as well to replace the line. We hired a consultant, and with their design, they had a couple of options. One was to build a parallel line or do a replace in kind, so to speak, where you would take the same layout and go with that. They performed a couple of additional borings. They grabbed all the information from the Metro Center that they could and came up with this current design. The costs from about, I don't know, when they started preliminary, we'll call it design, they were around 2.5 million. And if you look at some of the submitted information just recently, they're around 3 million, but then you start adding some contingencies, profits, and all this other kind of stuff. And the next thing you know, it's up to $5.6 million. If you look closely at the estimate, I'm sure there's a little bit of fluff in there. I'm sure they didn't want to, tell us it was going to be 2 million and have the bids come in higher. That makes the engineer look bad. But nobody really knows what kind of prices we're going to get with with everything that's going on right now in terms of the world of bidding. Some are a little bit lower than what we thought, and some are significantly higher. So that's where we stand with the construction cost. And then we'd also asked them to look at construction administration inspection. And you might recall that the board had approved 500,000, and that was based on $150 an hour for a general inspection for, I think I had figured 15 months or something like that. Their estimate takes it from 13 to 16 months. So again, that's a little bit of the contingency or whatever, but they were saying 16 months duration. And then the special inspections were included. I was a little bit surprised when they said the review of shop drawings and the price that they had, recommended, and then the special inspections for the piles, the micro piles, and some others from their geotechnical, which were well over 100,000. I'll have to be honest, I thought it was going to be about 50,000. But again, these are all what we'd call estimated costs. Hopefully, they're on the high side, but they are what they are. For the actual proposal, we can go at an RFP and have, maybe three, or we could put it out to open bid for a consultant to submit proposals for construction services, and then we pick the best price or the best inspection team, however, the boards wants to decide. And the same thing with when we put the price out to bid, if we have three or four bidders and it's competitive and they're all pretty close, it was a pretty good bid package, and hopefully it's less than the amount that they say it's going to be, but I'm sure they have to leave a little room for change orders and things like that. So that's what I have here. Is that I would combine maybe the 100,000 or so shortfall that we had on the inspection, or 150,000, whatever it was, and then add the 5.6 million, the new estimate or the latest estimate. And so this board would be approving 5.75 million for the construction. So add that to the 500,000 that was already approved, gives it to 6.25. And that's what we would go to the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, and RTM. And then also mention that there is a $750,000 grant that that was transferred. And so if it hasn't been approved by the town board, so we would make that request. I know it was approved by the state of Connecticut and by Mark Barnhart's office, but I don't know if it went to the boards or not. I'll have to check on that. But that's my recap. And Mega, if you want to add anything that I either forgot or anything that you want to put in, by all means, go ahead.
No, I think you covered it all, Bill, very well. The same thing that just one thing that Kevin said, the higher end you mentioned in the inspection is based, they are estimating based on the special inspection 80 days with 9 hours. That's why, when you were saying that they're higher end, that's why they're being very conservative on this for the special inspection.
And they did include like an hour or so travel
Yeah.
time each one.
Yeah.
If we were to get a local firm that was
Right.
just as qualified, and again, some of the things, much like with the cap, certain things with design, you have to go with the design engineer. But obviously, the daily inspection and some of the more generic stuff doesn't necessarily have to go to them.
Right. The special one, he said it should take 80 days, 9 hour of inspections with that micro piles.
Mm-hmm.
And if it goes, if the contractor should not take more than 80 days, but in case if they're going to take 80 days, they're going to put liquidated damages, which they haven't shown, but they're saying just go with the higher range in that sense. So that will cover up.
Matt, was
Right.
there I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to add one last thing. We have to double check with purchasing. In the past, the town was a little reluctant to do liquidated damages because one of the two of the purchasing agents thought that if you did liquidated damages, you then should reward if they finish the project ahead of schedule. And, we'd have to find that out. But we could certainly emphasize that, or, put it in and say that again, in this case, time is certainly money. And if we can put it in, we should put it in. But I just don't want to be under the false pretense that it has to go in. We have to check with purchasing.
Yeah, because one thing that
Okay.
we mentioned was between 13 to 16 months because of the grant deadline. And that was a question for liquidated damages that came up last time, because if the contractor is not able to finish within the scheduled time, then should we, do liquidated damages. And similar with these special inspections, he's saying 80 days. They're estimating should be taken with 9 hours, but contractor should not take more than 80 days. If he does, then liquidated damages. That's their
Okay.
question. So just to add that line.
Okay.
Yeah.
Matt, was there anything that jumped out at you? Being
Uh,
our resident content expert here.
Not right now. I mean, to be clear, we're talking about reviewing and approving the total fee, not the scope and any one contractor. And so, I mean, I have some questions related to scope, but I'm understanding that we're trying to paint the picture as like a worst case to some extent. I mean, obviously, we don't know what bids are coming in at, but so it looks like this has a pretty good cushion in it. I mean, obviously up for discussion later would be whether or not we can do shared inspection for just regular inspection between this and the other project that Bill had mentioned during our last meeting. I'm very supportive of that idea if we can make that work, where instead of having a full-time inspector, we can kind of have one person covering 2 jobs. In terms of the special inspections, I mean, obviously I'd be curious to know a little bit more about that, but I don't think it really matters for the purposes of this meeting.
For where we are now, yeah.
Exactly.
How about Joe, Ron, Nancy? Questions? Joe?
Okay, I do have a question. John, just at the 11th hour, you sent the D&V document with the estimate, and then there was a cover letter attached, a second attachment, which looked like a cover letter. And on page 2 of that cover letter, it had a few things that were not included in the estimate. Did you notice that?
I did not, no.
Item number 11 on page 2, it looked like.
Page, yep.
Page 3.
See what's
On
not
page 2,
included?
yeah. Yeah, I did notice that, Joe.
Okay, that always tells me when something's not included, we need to cover more money. That's typically what that means to me.
Well, there's definitely potential for that, and I'll just read number 11 just for anyone who hasn't looked at it, because I have it right here in front of me. The this estimate, again, I'll just stick to the question, and I'll go over the estimate after. The number 11 was the following is not including in this estimate: professional design fees. I guess that assumes redesign of something. I don't know why we'd have to redesign unless there was some catastrophic thing going on. Construction management fees, which is kind of interesting because in their construction management services on a
They have
separate
it.
document, they do have that. So I think that's just covering that. The next one, taxes, except for sales tax on equipment and construction aids. Well, again, the town doesn't pay taxes on that. And if it was on the equipment or merchandise that the contractor pays, that's at their expense. So that is indirectly included. Financing costs. All right. Well, that again, if it is bonded, I think they're still around 2% or something like that. So that is understood. Permits, as far as I know, all the permits have been obtained. There's one that, Mega had mentioned and talked to Kevin that as a courtesy, we would let Accurate know what we were doing and the DEP know about the project. But,
Yes. Yeah.
but because the liner hasn't been fully deeded or whatever related to the whole Metro Center project, they felt, and we have an email because I asked them to put that in an email at least, that we didn't have to go to the DEP, but as a courtesy. And then the last one, go ahead, Mega, sorry. No, go ahead.
We don't have to, you're right. We don't have to go unless it's at the end. As a cursory, we will tell them. But if we file a land restriction deed, which we will have to afterwards, then we will have to go.
Now, did he say that the town would, or that would be the developer that has to do.
And that's a question from Deep as well, because this is, we are in only in the easement area, but as a whole, the Accurate developer will be filing ELUR, so that should cover a project.
Okay, good. And then the last one was construction contingency management reserve. I have to admit, construction contingency, well, they added 5%, then they said 10% contingency on material. So I have to admit, I don't know what that means. But to Joe's question, a lot of these I just think are CYA, and not necessarily, like if they had said the following doesn't include, testing or, Lorero, what it should have said, it was also Loreros, and anything to do with the cap, that's not in the contract or something like that. But those things that are listed, I don't think are going to affect that much, but I leave that up to anybody else if they want to add more to it.
I think that, I mean, the two biggest items here beyond contingency, I think, are the top two, the professional design fees and the construction management. And what we did is we took their, whatever it was, $600,000 estimate for services and added that to that bottom line of the 5.5. And so I think we've got most of it covered. And like you said, Bill, if most of the permits are already covered, I mean, I don't know too much about the taxes and the financing side of things. So I would leave that to somebody else to decide if we need additional cushion. But at this point, I would think the professional design fees and the construction management are covered in that 600,000-ish scope added to the 5.5 million construction number.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so it looks like what we have in front of us is a request for an increment. I'm going to leave out the grant for now. If that comes in, that's great. But in order to move this through the pipeline, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
5,750,000 is what we need this evening. It sounds like in order to go out for bid. And I saw a hand up. I see Joe. Yes, sir.
I make a motion, Mr. Chair.
Sir.
A motion to approve up to 5.75 mil, an additional
Nice.
5.75 million for construction phase of the replacement pipe for the East Trunk line crossing through, and I think it's the Ash Creek wetlands, right? It is Ash Creek over there. still.
Yeah, we call it the Metro Center wetlands.
Okay.
Okay.
And I'm not sure, I'm sorry, Matt, and I'm
I was
not
gonna
sure
second.
if you want me to include the second piece of this, which says the project proposed will be bonded with $2 million and the additional 3.75 million will come from the WPCA fund. Do you want that included in the motion?
Yes, sir.
Okay, there it
Okay, sir.
was.
Well, I'm going
Financing
out.
for the project will consist of $2 million to be bonded and the additional 3.75 million to be paid from the WPCA fund.
A second? Second. Okay. Comments, questions? Hmm. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So that was a unanimous, that was Nancy, Ron, Matt, and Joe, and Mark. Okay. I recall this RFP process to hire D&B was about 2 years ago. It was a snowy day in December and during COVID. And I'm thrilled that we're finally at a point to go forward. And full steam ahead. Bill and Megan, thank you so much for moving this along and being available tonight. John Bodie, thank you always for what you do, leading the department. Is there a motion to close?
Motion.
I heard a motion from Nancy and a second from Matt. All in favor?
Aye.
Wish everyone a good night. See you in a few weeks.